Welcome to the Reconnection Club podcast, the show that helps parents heal troubled relationships with their adult sons and daughters. I'm your host, psychotherapist Tina Gilbertson. Each week, I'll offer you compassion, clarity, and personal development tips designed to help you reconnect, not only with your child, but with yourself. Now let's get started. Have you ever offered a child a cookie in exchange for good behavior? Have you ever thought about the impression you wanted to make when selecting an outfit for an interview? Have you ever withheld upsetting information from someone until the timing was better to tell them? Most of us can probably say yes to one, two, or all of those questions. Yet few of us think of any of those as manipulation. And yet they all are. The online dictionary defines manipulation as skillful or artful management. And if you think about those examples, eliciting good behavior, making a good impression, or choosing a good time to share bad news, you might agree that there is something we could call white hat manipulation that we engage in all the time, and it doesn't cause problems. Manipulation is simply managing our environment to maximize benefit and sometimes minimize pain. That's why, in my view, there's nothing inherently evil or even wrong about manipulation itself. But if we're all happily manipulating our environments every day, why are certain instances of manipulation called out and condemned as being quote-unquote manipulative? Two ideas come to mind to explain the difference between white hat manipulation and manipulative manipulation. First, let's go back to that definition of manipulation as skillful or artful management. The word artful implies a certain amount of deceit or underhandedness. Sly, cunning, and crafty also show up in the definition of that word artful. And it does create problems when manipulation is experienced that way. But what makes manipulation feel crafty or deceitful on the receiving end? Presumably, there are a few people out there who are routinely crafty and deceitful in a cold and calculating way. The word sociopathic is used to describe such behavior. But I believe most of us are operating more from instinct and habit than from any evil intent. From what I've observed, it's not intentional deceit, but unconscious motives or fear that get people labeled and shamed as being manipulative. When we're unaware of what drives us, and when others beat us to it by guessing our motivations, that's when they start to call out what feels to them like manipulative behavior. The person can see what we might be trying to do even as we hold ourselves apart from knowing our own intentions. To put it more succinctly, we're either not conscious of what we really want, or we know what we want but we don't know how to ask for it, or we think we're not allowed to ask directly. We think we have to somehow sneakily make it happen while preserving deniability. As an example, let's say you and I have a coffee date set up for this afternoon, and I want to spend time with you, but I'm feeling too lazy to go very far. I really just want to stay in my own neighborhood. And I may or may not be conscious of that. I just know I'm feeling resistant to getting in my car. So as you and I are making plans, I mention that I'm worried about my car because it's been acting up lately and I really should take it to a mechanic. What if it just stops on me? Or I drop a few hints about how I've got a sore back, or my stomach has been upset this morning, or maybe I point out that I've got online appointments before and after our meeting, which I need to be home for. And after a litany of these issues, you graciously suggest that we meet in my neighborhood. Now, I get exactly what I wanted, but you might well feel manipulated. And one reason for this is that I was either unaware or I was afraid to say, I'm feeling like staying close to home today. Would you mind meeting near my place? If I'm unaware of what I want, it's because I'm not used to paying attention to my needs and preferences, and I literally don't notice them. If I'm afraid, it's because it feels unfair of me to ask you to come to my area. And yet I did ask you to do that, just not explicitly. Instead, I put every obstacle in the way of my traveling very far to meet with you. But if you complain later about having to come to my neighborhood, I have deniability. I can say, I never asked you to do that. You volunteered. That's an example of manipulation that doesn't feel very good. Either I was unaware of my resistance to traveling outside my neighborhood, or I was afraid to be explicit about what I wanted. The result is the same. I acted from motives that I was hiding, either from myself or trying to hide from you. And if you picked up on my hidden motives, which it's pretty easy to do, then you might feel manipulated. So a big hazard for parents accused of being manipulative with their adult children can be either a lack of connection to their own center, their heart of hearts it's called, that place we all have deep inside where we truly know what's up, whether we want to or not. Or it may be a reluctance to be upfront about what they want, but they still really want it. In either case, that's the first idea I have about why some manipulation is considered so manipulative. I'll talk about the second condition that seems to make manipulation feel manipulative, and I'll also look at a few other tidbits about estranged adult children and manipulation in the next episode. Until then, remember that you are a loving, lovable, and still growing human being. So please take good care of yourself. Bye for now. If you've enjoyed this episode of the Reconnection Club podcast, I invite you to check out reconnectionclub.com. The Reconnection Club is for parents at any stage of estrangement from their adult, child, or children. So whether you've just realized there's trouble between you, you've been living with estrangement for years, or you're newly reconciled but still walking on eggshells, the Reconnection Club is your essential resource for information, support, and continued personal growth. With our courses and workshops, expert interviews, monthly Q&A calls, and a friendly, active community, the Reconnection Club is a wonderful place to be for anyone suffering the pain of estrangement from an adult, child, or children. So check it out at reconnectionclub.com.